దయచేయండి తండ్రి. ప్రభా, ప్రవచన వాక్యాలు నాయన మేము కేవలము దానిలో ఉన్న ఆ యొక్క ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ కొరకు మాత్రమే కాకుండా ప్రభా తండ్రి, మీరు మమ్మల్ని రాకడ కొరకు సిద్ధపరుస్తున్నారన్న ఆ యొక్క అవగాహన కలిగి నాయన జాగ్రత్తగా వినటానికి ప్రభా మమ్మల్ని మేము సిద్ధపరచుకోవటానికి నీ కృప అనుగ్రహించండి. మీ దాసుని మీ సిలువ చాటున మరుగు చేయండి ప్రభా తండ్రి. మీరే మీ ఆత్మ అభిషేకం దయచేయండి. నీ రక్త ప్రోక్షణతో కప్పండి నాయన. మహిమ ఘనత ప్రభావాలు మీకు ఆరోపిస్తుండగా నాయన నీ బూరగా తండ్రి నీ సందేశాన్ని నీ ప్రజలకు అందించడానికి నీ కృప అనుగ్రహించమని అతి త్వరలో రానున్న యేసయ్య శ్రేష్టమైన నామమున ప్రార్థిస్తున్నాను తండ్రి. ఆమెన్, ఆమెన్. So God bless you all, and once again welcome to this evening Bible study. Let us go to the PowerPoint. Well, షలోమ్ షలోమ్ యెషువ షలోమ్ అలెకుం. యేసుక్రీస్తు సమాధానం మీ అందరికీ ప్రకటిస్తూ ఈ యొక్క బైబిల్ స్టడీని వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు స్టార్ట్. సో టుడే సబ్జెక్ట్ వీఆర్ లుకింగ్ ఇన్ టు ద 38 and 39 చాప్టర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎజెకియల్. ఈ యొక్క ఎజెకియల్ వార్, ఈ యొక్క యుద్ధం అనేది లేక ఇన్వేషన్, when it is going to happen. And we have already seen the people who are involved in that war, the nations that are involved in the war, అది కూడా మనం చూసాం. ఆ తర్వాత ఎటువంటి పరిస్థితులలో, when the time of peace and safety and security, ఇస్రాయల్ దేశం ఏ విధంగా ఉండాలి అని అంటే వాక్యానుసారంగా మనం చదివిన వాక్యంలో అది పీస్ అండ్ సేఫ్టీ అండ్ సెక్యూర్డ్ ప్లేస్లో ఉండాలి. ప్రజెంట్ డే ఇజ్రాయెల్ని మనం గమనిస్తాం. ఇట్ ఈస్ అ ప్రాస్పరస్ అండ్ డెవలప్డ్ నేషన్. అది ఆ తర్వాత టు సమ్ ఎక్స్టెంట్ దే హ్యావ్ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ అండ్ దే హ్యావ్ అ సేఫ్టీ, బట్ దే ఆర్ నాట్ అట్ రెస్ట్. అంటే కంప్లీట్గా లేదు. Having fought the four battles, major battles, right from the birth of Israel, 1948, Israel gained the confidence. Same confidence ante now they can face any war against Arab countries, any war against Arab countries. So, but they are not at చెప్పాలంటే they are not at peace. సో ఒక్కసారి మనం ఇస్రాయల్ దేశం యొక్క ఆ టైం లైన్ను మనం చూద్దాం, జాగ్రత్తగా గమనిద్దాం. అండ్ rapture of the church. First we put the rapture of the church. We believe in the pre-tribulation rapture. So first the rapture will take place. ఆ తర్వాత after the rapture 70 weeks prophecyలో 70th week is going to be fulfilled. 70 weeks prophecyలో మనం దానియేలు గ్రంథంలో 9వ అధ్యాయం 24వ వచనం నుంచి 27వ వచనం వరకు మనం ఆ యొక్క దాన్ని మనం గమనిస్తున్న సమయంలో the first it is having the three groups, like a three divisions in that prophecy. The first 69 weeks as a one group or one division, and then there is a parenthesis, లేకపోతే there is a gap period between 69th week and 70th week. That is a gap period, parenthesis. And then third division is 70th week. So 70th week is going to commence when this Antichrist, he is going to sign the treaty with many Arabs and Israel, Jew. Then this 7-year period is going to commence. So in the middle of the week, అంటే 3.5 years ఆ యొక్క పీరియడ్లో Antichrist will come to the reign. He is coming to the throne. He will take over. Here he will come as a man of peace, as a Messiah. He will be a great leader of the nations, accepted by everyone, including Arabs and Israelis. Then in the middle of the week, Madhyantaramlo, he will come to the throne. And then that time, there is a war in heaven. The Satan will be thrown down. There is no place in heaven. So, this red dragon or this Satan is after the nation Israel. Why after the nation Israel? You know very well the reasons. And then he's going to establish, Jesus is going to establish millennial reign. So why I am giving you this picture? Is Israel safe and secure now? So now, here if you see this, now from the beginning of this why you cannot open specific? There is some problem. Yeah, got it. So, beginning of the 7-year period, and until the middle of the 7 years, this 3.5 years, that is, this period is almost like a time of peace. ఎందుకంటే ఈ క్రీస్తు విరోధి he comes as the prince of a peace, లేకపోతే he will be as a messiah. He is antichrist, no one knows about him, but he is the great leader for the crisis. After the rapture, there is going to be a great crisis. దాన్ని అన్నిటినీ సరిదిద్దటానికి, సమాధానపరచడానికి క్రీస్తు విరోధి, according to Daniel's 9:27, he will sign the treaty. ఆ పీరియడ్ మొదలుకొని the middle of the 7 years, that is 3.5 years, it is like a time of peace and rest. But that's not real peace and rest. It's a false and temporary peace, pseudo peace. అది నకిలీ, లేకపోతే it is counterfeit, because Antichrist, he is not bringing the true peace. But middle of the week, Israel will be enjoying. The temple will be built. Sacrifices, అవన్నీ అర్పణలు, బలి అర్పణలు అర్పిస్తుంటారు. So 3.5 years, Israel is a kind of safe and secure. But why I said it is not perfect, when after this, the Israel will flee to the wilderness. When there is a peace and security, why they will flee? That means it is not a perfect peace. So second half lo, Israel will flee to the wilderness for 1260 days, 3.5 years. Okay? And that period is called the time of distress, Jacob's trial. So then Christ will return and he will save Israel. Then he will establish millennial kingdom, 1,000-year reign. This particular period is a perfect peace. ఇస్రాయల్ దేశానికి మాత్రమే కాదు, ప్రపంచమంతటికి అది ఒక పర్ఫెక్ట్ పీస్గా, అది ద టైమ్ ఆఫ్ గోల్డెన్ ఎరా. Christ is ruling in righteousness and peace prevails there. No wars. That's a beautiful period. So this is the timeline. ఒకవేళ చెప్పాలంటే, now we can, with this diagram, we can know when Israel is going to live in peace. So Israel going to live, whether here is a peace, this is a perfect peace, here it is a temporary peace. Why I am I have chosen this diagram. When this war is going to happen, when invasion is going to take place, ఈ యొక్క యుద్ధం ఎప్పుడు జరుగుతుందంటే ఇశ్రాయేలీలు నెమ్మదిగా వారు ఎటువంటి గందరగోళం లేకుండా చక్కగా మనం గమనిస్తే చక్కగా ఇక్కడ మన బైబిల్లో వ్రాయబడి ఉంది 8వ వచనంలో, నిర్భయముగా నివసించు జనులందరికీ నీవు వచ్చెదవు. 11వ వచనంలో, నిమ్మలముగాను నిర్భయముగాను నివసించు వారి మీదికి నీవు పోయేదవు. అంటే వెన్ దిస్ ఇన్వేషన్ టేక్స్ ప్లేస్, Israel is going to be in peace and security, safety. సో దాని కొరకు నేను ఈ యొక్క డయాగ్రామ్ చూశాను. ఇప్పుడు ఒకవేళ చెప్పాలి అంటే మొదటి 3.5 సంవత్సరాలు దెర్ ఇస్ ఎ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ పీస్ యూ హ్యావ్, బట్ దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ ఎ ట్రూ పీస్. అండ్ ఇన్ మిలేనియం దెర్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు బీ ఎ పర్ఫెక్ట్ పీస్. సో నా ఇది మనం మనసులో పెట్టుకొని లెట్స్ ప్రొసీడ్ the Israel's history, okay? Why and what is the purpose of invasion? What is the purpose of invasion? ఎందుకొరకు? ఎందుకంటే మనం ఇవన్నీ we should take in consideration all these things. Why? What is the purpose? And what is the situation of Israel living during that time? ఇవన్నీ అప్పుడే మనం సరి అయిన రీతిగా we can interpret this prophecy. The purpose is twofold. One is God the Almighty in the divine point of view. What is the purpose of God the Almighty? దేవుని యొక్క ఉద్దేశం ఏంటి? And then invaders, those who are invading or that coming against Israel, the invaders' viewpoint, that I call human point of view. మానవ కోణంలో మనం చూద్దాం, ఆ తర్వాత దైవిక కోణంలో మనం చూస్తాం. వాట్ ఈస్ ద పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ఇన్వేషన్? ఇన్వేడర్స్ ముందు మనం ఈ యొక్క మానవ కోణంలో మనం చూద్దాం. వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఇంటెన్షన్? వై దే ఆర్ ఇన్వేడింగ్? వై దే ఆర్ అటాకింగ్ దిస్ ఇజ్రాయెల్? ఎందుకు ఈ యొక్క యుద్ధం? నెంబర్ 1, టు డెస్ట్రాయ్ ద నేషన్. Destroy the nation. Revelation chapter 12, we have seen the background why devil wants to destroy the nation Israel. సో ఇది మనం జాగ్రత్తగా గమనిస్తే Satan instigation, that is అజెండా. సైతానుడు ఏం చేస్తూ ఉన్నాడంటే వాడు మానవులను పురికొల్పుతున్నాడు. దేని కొరకు? ఆ యొక్క ఇశ్రాయేలు దేశాన్ని నాశనం చేయటానికి. సేటన్స్ మెయిన్ ఫోకస్ ఒకవేళ 12th చాప్టర్ 1-4 వర్సెస్లో మనం చూస్తే వాడి యొక్క ఫోకస్ దేని మీద అంటే ఇట్స్ ఆన్ ద మేల్ చైల్డ్ మెస్సయా. అంటే ఆ యేసుక్రీస్తును చంపేయాలి, యేసుక్రీస్తును నాశనం చేయాలి. ఎందుకు యేసుక్రీస్తును నాశనం చేయాలంటే ఈజ్ కమింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ ద నేషన్ ఇజ్రాయెల్. అది మనం ప్రీవియస్ స్టడీలో మనం వీ హ్యావ్ ఆల్రెడీ సీన్ వెరీ క్లియర్లీ. అండ్ దిస్ మేల్ చైల్డ్ మెస్సయా ఈజ్ వన్ డే ఈజ్ గోయింగ్ టు క్రష్ హిస్ హెడ్. సైతాన్ను చితుక కొడతాడనేది మనం జాగ్రత్తగా గమనించాం. అండ్ ఈ ట్రైడ్ హిస్ బెస్ట్. యేసుక్రీస్తు పుట్టుక నుండి హీ ఇన్స్టిగేటెడ్ హెరోడ్. వి ఆల్ నో దాట్. హెరోద్ను ఇన్స్టిగేట్ చేసి 2 years down all male children were killed. And during his ministry, Jesus ministry, personal attack chesi the temptation of Jesus we have seen. So one of the temptations lo aa lokamantarni chupinchi these kingdoms, all these kingdoms are mine, they are given to me, I can give to anyone I like. If you bow down, Jesus, I'm going to give it to you. So there, he wanted to defeat, or he wanted to defeat that purpose. ఆ తర్వాత డెత్ ఆన్ ద క్రాస్. హీ ఇన్స్టిగేటెడ్ Jew to crucify him. He could not succeed. Then cosmic war in 12th chapter లో మనం చూస్తాం, from verse 5 onwards. He was thrown down. There is no place for him in heaven. So then he wants to take a revenge on nation Israel. He could not succeed on Jesus, the male child. He was taken up to heaven, but now he wanted to persecute. He wanted to give hard time to the offspring, that is Israel. So that is creating a kind of anti-Semitism, hatred towards Jew. Why he wanted to persecute? Why he is against Jew? Just one reason, because the male child. Satan instigating Russia and Arab nations now. ఈ ఇస్రాయల్ దేశాన్ని నాశనం చేయటానికి Ezekiel 38 and 39. So that is the human point of view. Satan instigates people. ఒకవేళ సెకండ్ శామ్యుయల్ 24లో చూస్తే Satan instigated, put an evil thought in David's mind to take the census. We all know that 70,000 people were died because of his mistake. So Satan instigated. And here he is putting, ఒకవేళ Ezekiel 38, 10, 11లో he put that evil thought in this nation of invaders. And from the beginning, people wants to destroy Israel. ఒకవేళ చూస్తే Abdul Nasser in the first 57 war, 76 war. All Egyptians is now prepared to plunge into total war, which will put an end to Israel. Cairo Radioloid, he pronounced it. And Ahmadinejad, he is ex-president of Iran. He said he was to eradicate Israel off the face of the earth. That was his plan. And he said, I can use nuclear weapon to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And Yasser Arafat, Saddam Hussein, they were all against, instigated. If we see this Harper's Collins map, they removed Israel from the atlas. That is their intention. They wanted to wipe off Israel. Why? Because that's the only reason Satan fear. Messiah one day is going to crush his head. That is the fear. Benjamin Netanyahu once he said, if Arabs put down their weapons today, there would be no war, no more violence, no more wars. If the Jews put down their weapons today, there would be no more Israel. How true it is, how true it is. And then we go to a little further. The purpose of the invasion, still invaders' point of view, to take the spoil, to take the wealth, దోచుకోవటానికి, వారి దగ్గర ఉన్న ఆ యొక్క ధనాన్ని, బంగారం, వాటన్నిటిని దోచుకోవటానికి వెళ్తున్నారు. And then Israel must be rich. Unless there is దోచుకోవటానికి ఏదైనా ఉంటే తప్ప వాడి దగ్గర పోవటానికి వీల్లేదు. సో దోచుకోవాలంటే Israel must be rich. So today Israel is very rich. And human development indicator indexలో వాల్యూలో చూస్తే Israel stands 19 out of 189 countries of the world. Can you imagine? A small, little, tiny nation. And technology, information technology, cyber security, agriculture, they have diamond industries, that is main economy, oil and natural gas, livestock, all these things, and very especially the Dead Sea minerals, they're almost worth $5 trillion. Wow. So much treasure, so much wealth is in Israel. So, nation Israel is rich to be invaded. ఆ తర్వాత ఇంకా మనం చూస్తే, ఇఫ్ యూ థింక్ అబౌట్ ద మిలిటరీ మైట్, వావ్, ఇజ్రాయెల్ ఈజ్ ద మోస్ట్ పవర్ఫుల్ స్టేట్ ఇన్ ద వెస్ట్ ఏషియా. Its military forces may not match like Egypt, Turkey, other countries, but the training, equipment, technologies, nuclear weapons make it unassailable. You cannot imagine such a powerful country in the Middle East, Israel. So, Russia wants to build up economy because Russia's economy has fallen down after fall of USSR. USSR, United Soviet Republic అనేది ఉండేది. That is disintegrated in 1991. Since that time, the economy is lost, is crashed. So they wanted to build up their economy. The source of economy, export oil and natural gas and war weapons. Israel deshaniki. Then you think about Iran. Iran wants to build up military force, military might. Because after losing a long battle, almost 10 years with Iraq, now they wanted to come up. They wanted to build their military. So Russia is supplying war weapons and Iran is supplying petroleum and oil to them. So invaders' point of view, to destroy the nation, to take the spoil. These are the two main reasons why they are after Israel. Now let us see the God's point of view. God's point of view. Divine point of view. Towards Israel. దేవుని యొక్క ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే, ఇజ్రాయెల్ టు నో దట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దర్ డిసొబీడియన్స్, బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దర్ రెబెలియన్, దే వర్ స్కాటర్డ్ ఆల్ ఓవర్ ద వరల్డ్. ఇస్రాయల్ దేశం ఎందుకు చెదరగొట్టబడింది, ఇస్రాయల్ దేశం ఎందుకు ఆ విధంగా అనేక దేశాల మధ్య వెళ్ళిపోయారు, బానిసలుగా వెళ్ళిపోయారు, ఆ రాజ్యం త్రొక్కబడింది శత్రువుల చేత. వై? బికాస్ ఆఫ్ డిసొబీడియన్స్, అవిధేయత, తిరుగుబాటు. ఇజ్రాయెల్ షుడ్ నో why they were scattered. Why they were scattered. That's one of the reasons. The second reason, because of unconditional covenant with Abraham and his loving kindness, God is going to gather them back to their land. అంటే తిరిగి వారిని ఎందుకు సమకూరుస్తున్నాడు దేవుడు అనంటే, అబ్రహాంతో చేసిన షరతు లేని నిబంధన, ఎలాంటి దానిలో కండిషన్స్ లేవు, అటువంటి నిబంధనను తాను నిలుపుకోవటానికి, ఆ తర్వాత తన యొక్క వాత్సల్యము, ప్రేమ, బాహుల్యాన్ని బట్టి, హిస్ కైండ్నెస్, హిస్ గ్యాదరింగ్ దెమ్ బ్యాక్. And third reason why this battle, all Israel may know their Messiah. They should turn to their Messiah. When Jesus has come first time, they rejected him. They crucified him. But the purpose of this battle, all may turn to God. All Israel must be saved. That is it. We read in the 39th chapter. వారందరూ దేవుని వైపు తిరగాలి. ఆ తర్వాత another towards the Gentile nations. This is his purpose towards Israel and towards Gentile nations. Gentiles may know that he is God. అన్యజనులందరూ ఆ దేవాది దేవుడు, ఆయనే దేవుడని వారందరూ తెలుసుకోవాలి. That is the purpose. And so ultimate purpose. God wants to sanctify himself in this war. The results of the war, ఆయన పరిశుద్ధ నామమును, the holy name may be sanctified among the nations, among Israel. Honor his holy name. Make his name may be known to everyone. Israeliలకు, అన్యులకు. So that is the purpose. That is the purpose. Okay? And now, summary or all these things, ఒకవేళ మనం జాగ్రత్తగా గమనిస్తే, why this prophetic timeline మనం చూసినప్పుడు, keeping all the different factors what we have seen, అవన్నిటిని మన మైండ్లో పెట్టుకోవాలి. అవన్నీ చక్కగా ఈ యొక్క యుద్ధానికి సరిపోవాలి. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద టైమ్. సో ఫస్ట్ వీ మస్ట్ సీ దట్ ఇజ్రాయెల్ ఈజ్ గోయింగ్ టు లివ్ ఇన్ పీస్ అండ్ ట్రాంక్విలిటీ. భద్రత, నిర్భయంగా బ్రతకాలి, నిర్భయంగా ఉండే ఆ సమయం. ఓకే. రెండవది, ఆ డీటెయిల్స్ మనం చూసాం ప్రొఫెటిక్ టైం లైన్లో. ఏ విధంగా ఆ యొక్క టైం ఎప్పుడు ఉంటుందనేది మనం చూసాం. ఆ తర్వాత ఆఫ్టర్ ద బ్యాటిల్ వాట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు హ్యాపెన్ ఆఫ్టర్ దిస్ ఇన్వేషన్. ఒకవేళ మనం ఈ యొక్క 9వ అధ్యాయంలో మనం జాగ్రత్తగా 39వ అధ్యాయంలో జాగ్రత్తగా చూస్తే, దే ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు బరీ దర్ డెడ్ పీపుల్ 7 months, 7 నెలలు ఆ శవాలను పాతి పెడుతూ ఉంటారు. And 7 years they burn the weapons. 7 years. సో ఈ యుద్ధం ఎప్పుడు జరగాలి అని అంటే ఆ 7-year పీరియడ్ రావాలి. ఆ తర్వాత అది ప్రశాంతమైన వాతావరణం కలిగి ఉండాలి. ఇస్రాయల్ దేశము అది ఇట్ షుడ్ బి రిచ్ నేషన్. ఇవన్నీ ఉంటే తప్ప ఆ యుద్ధం జరగటానికి వీల్లేదు. వీ హ్యావ్ సీన్ ద పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ నేషన్. ఈ యుద్ధంలో ఏం జరగాలి? ఇశ్రాయేల్ అందరూ రక్షించబడాలి, ప్రభు వైపు తిరగాలి, అన్యజనులు దేవుని తెలుసుకోవాలి, అన్యజనులు దేవుని తెలుసుకోవాలి. అండ్ ద నేషన్స్ దే ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు టేక్ ద స్పాయిల్. ఇవన్నీ మనం పెట్టుకున్నప్పుడు, వెన్ వీ సీ ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్, when it is going to happen. So there are different views about this battle or invasion. See, always, when they are not specifically mentioned in the Bible, so theologians have their own imaginations. వాళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారంటే, ఇక వాళ్ళకి తోచినట్లు వారి యొక్క ఇంటర్ప్రిటేషన్, మేబీ సమ్టైమ్స్ దే టేక్ one verse, sometimes they take maybe one incident and they build up their period. సో ఈ దినం మనం ఏం చేయాలి అంటే, ఇది ఏ విధంగా ఇది జరుగుతుందని there are several thoughts about this, different views about this invasion, but we'll take just few of them and we'll quickly check up those things. So this is church age and the rapture of the church. After the rapture, Antichrist signed the treaty, then 7-year period will begin, and then Christ will return, and then millennial reign will be there. ఆ తర్వాత the last judgment. This is the complete time frame, prophetic time frame. This is called the prophetic timeline. Okay? ఇందులో now we have to place this invasion somewhere, from here to here somewhere. So we'll see. Number 1, why? Some say before the rapture of the church this war will take place. They have their own ideas. ఎందుకు అనంటే అది మనం తర్వాత ఆలోచన చేస్తాం. The second view, after the rapture. No, not before the rapture, after the rapture. They have again their own material to substantiate. Then third view is in the beginning of the 7-year period. ఈ 7 ఏండ్ల యొక్క శ్రమకాలానికి ఆరంభంలో, ఎందుకంటే 7 సంవత్సరాలు ఆ యొక్క వెపన్స్ను వాళ్ళు కాలుస్తుంటారు కాబట్టి 7-year period they should need. So they say that is the beginning. And some say no, 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 it is the end of the 7-year period. 7-year period. They have again their own explanations. The fifth is, somehow I missed it. Yeah, fifth one is the beginning of millennium kingdom. Fifth is the millennial of kingdom. And then someone say end of the millennial kingdom. So there are 6 different views. Inka enno unnai, but I'm just taken 6. Before the rapture of the church, after the rapture of the church, at the beginning of 7-year period, at the end of 7-year period, the beginning of millennium, and the end of millennium. See, so many, just one subject, one event in the prophetical frame, the invasion of Gog and Magog. Because of our clarity, like a specific, it is not written when, these are the guessworks. These are the speculations. These are the ideas of different theologians. So which one is correct? You have to find out which one is correct. ఇంతమంది చేస్తూ ఉంటే హౌ కెన్ వీ నో దట్ ఎవరికి వాళ్ళే కరెక్ట్ అంటారు? ఎవ్రీ వన్ సే ఐఎమ్ రైట్, మై వ్యూ పాయింట్ ఈజ్ కరెక్ట్, బికాస్ దే హ్యావ్ సమ్ స్క్రిప్చరల్ వర్డ్స్. అందుకే నేనేం చేశానంటే we have seen all those different viewpoints. Israel యొక్క కండిషన్స్ ఏ విధంగా ఉన్నాయి, after the war what is going to happen, all these things we have to place. If everything is reconciled, then that is the correct viewpoint of this. సో ఏ విధంగా దాన్ని మనం చేయాలి అనేది మనం జాగ్రత్తగా గమనిస్తాం. ఒక్కొక్కటి మనం we'll take one by one, okay? One by one. Number 1, they say it's before the rapture. Why they said before the rapture? So they have some plus points like 7-year period. Israel దేశం సమాధానంగా ఉండాలి. Now it is almost like, they are in confidence that they can face any kind of war, and now they are rich people, so there is no walls around Israel now. Ivanni okay, they said, but is it okay? Can it reconcile? So before the rapture of the church, the problem, number 1 problem is the imminence of the rapture is questioned. Suppose if you place this war before the rapture, so the rapture అనేది మన మైండ్లో నుంచి వెళ్ళిపోయి, now this is the war time, because after this war we are going to be raptured. So we know after the war. So when the war is taken place, we will know that we are going to be raptured. So that there is no meaning of the imminence. And then question, is Israel living in peace and security? Not at all. Maybe to some extent, but always war. Now Lebanon, tarvata Gaza, oksari Syria, one after the other. There is no peace. Even now. There is a war. So you cannot put that there. That is the problem. And Israel will be in perfect peace. No. And main purpose is all Israel must turn to God. No, they are against Messiah, even today. So if they are going to అనుకుందాం, మనమేమో అనుకుందామంటే, if they are going to turn to Messiah, why they will look to the Antichrist? Why they will accept Antichrist? Why that 7-year peace treaty? So you cannot accept this particular viewpoint. Okay? So now we'll go to next one. Before the rapture, the problems we have seen. And here is another end results. All Israel will be turned to Messiah. This will happen at the return of Christ, end of the tribulation period, not the beginning. Israel will still be unbelief. The purpose of tribulation is purging the nation. Possesses all the land promised to Abraham. And middle of the week, Israel will flee to desert. So, with all these things, you cannot accept the first point. Then after the rapture, is it going to solve the problem? Again, you have the problems. After the rapture, you have the problems. ఒకవేళ మనం జాగ్రత్తగా గమనిస్తే same things. Immediately after the rapture, there is going to be great chaos. Left Behind book, the movie you see, if you have seen that, after the rapture, all believers are taken up. There is going to be accident. There is going to be lot of chaos. So it cannot be, you cannot accept there because there's a lot of chaos. And then emerging Antichrist. So they cannot put there. అది కూడా ఎందుకంటే వీళ్ళందరూ క్రీస్తు వైపు మళ్ళాలి కాబట్టి it is not possible. And here they accept peace treaty with Antichrist. So this is not possible. So, and let's see, third point, at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. Antichrist is there. We have seen that there is up to the middle of the tribulation, Israel will be living in peace because Arabs తో ఆ సమాధాన నిబంధన చేస్తారు కాబట్టి Israel will be living in the peace. That's the reason they put this here. And then another thing is the 7-year period. 7 years they burn the weapons. So it's a nicely fitting there. And so positive side. Israel live in peace and security. Whether it is a false peace or whatever it is, still they are there. ఆ తర్వాత they build the temple and sacrifices. They are safe and secure in the first 3.5 years. And 7 months burying the dead, it's okay. 7 years burning the weapons and accommodated, very good. It's a nice. So all these positive points. What is the negative points or problems? Number one, the end result of invasion is all Israel must turn to Jesus, Messiah. But that will not happen here. Then Israel will still be in unbelief. And they have not possessed all the promised land. And middle of the week, they will be fleeing to the desert. So these are the problems if you start at the beginning of 7-year period. There is a positive side. You can, okay, to some extent this is fine. But there is again problem. Then fourth one, at the end of tribulation. So how can it be? Many people put this war at the end of tribulation. Why? Similarities. ఎందుకంటే అక్కడ ఆకాశ పక్షులను ఆ యుద్ధంలో ఆ శవాలను తినటానికి ఆకాశ పక్షులను పిలుస్తాడు. ఎజికియల్లో ఉంది, ఆ తర్వాత రెవల్యూషన్ 19th chapterలో ఉంది. All Israel will turn to their Messiah. Yes, at the end of 7 years, all Israel is going to be turned to their Messiah. Good, nice. The problem. Revelation 19th chapter 11 to 21 is Armageddon war. There is another war is scheduled. That is, here it is a Russian war Russia is the main key player here. Armageddon war, it's altogether two different characteristics. They are different people. They are different people. Let's see. Russian war. What are the differences? Main character, Prince of Meshach. And here, Jesus Christ versus Antichrist, this battle. Invasion against the nation Israel. All the 9 nations against Israel. War against Christ. This is a war against Christ. Specific nations, only 9 nations only mentioned. It is almost like a regional war. But here, the kings of all earth and their armies are gathered. So war spot is the mountain of Israel. Here it is the valley of Jehoshaphat, Armageddon. Purpose of Israel to turn to Messiah, all Israel will be saved. Prior to war, Israel dwells in peace. But here, Israel flee and hiding in a desert. Great earthquake, rain, hail, pestilences. Through this war is going to be. But here, the sword from the mouth of God. War against nation Israel, and it is a nation Israel not mentioned at all. Armageddon war. There is not Israel war. It is a Christ against Antichrist. False prophet. So these two are entirely a different wars. Entirely different wars. Both are different wars. So you cannot just think about it. You cannot think about it. Then let's see 5:1, fifth one. It's a beginning of the millennial kingdom. Can we place the beginning of the millennium? That's a problem. What's the problem? This kingdom of millennial kingdom is established by Christ the Messiah. దేవాది దేవుడు యేసు క్రీస్తు దాన్ని స్థాపిస్తున్నాడు. All Israel will turn to their Messiah. All Israel will be saved. No doubt about it. Condition of the millennial period, peace and righteousness, justice will prevail. And no war, no weapons, all weapons will be crushed, molded into pruning hooks. అవి నాగటి నక్కులుగా చేస్తారు. ఆ యొక్క ఖడ్గాలన్నింటినీ ఆయుధాలన్నింటినీ తీసేసి. There is no war during millennial period. So no question or no situation of any kind of war. So you cannot place this war in the beginning of the millennium kingdom. So they're already turned to Christ. So there is no question. After the war, they are turning to Christ. So there is no question. Already at the second coming, Christ, all Israel are saved. But during the millennium, entrance, all saved Israels will become. So in the beginning, you cannot place that. The final is at the end of this millennial kingdom. That is very strange. That's a very strange. You know why? Because Gog and Magog, the two words are used. Twice this word is. Jagrataga vinali. Many people make mistake because the word Gog and Magog. So twice it is used in this Bible. One is in Ezekiel 38th chapter. Another one is in Revelation chapter 27 to 10. Both are different wars. We'll see about that. But Gog and Magog, why it is used there? So that's the reason they wanted to put at the end. But when you place this war here, Jagrata Gamanisi, the minus points, like problems, we see the problems. What are the problems if you put the end of the millennial kingdom? Number 1, characters involved in the war is different. In Ezekiel war, Northern Federation, Russia and its Islamic alliances. 9 nations. It's a regional war. And Revelation, Gog and Magog, that's a name is Gog and Magog. In that war, all the nations of the world, all the nations of the world, and Satan. And what are the circumstances during that time? And what are the end effects? We have to think about it. ఇవన్నీ మనం ఆలోచన చేస్తున్నప్పుడు you cannot place that war there. But 7 years, but immediately after this millennium, the final judgment. 7 months they are going to bury the dead. But at the millennium, Gog and this war, after the millennial kingdom, this war, the fire will come, they will be totally smashed to the ashes. So there is no question of burying the people. Immediately there is a judgment throne of God. So ఇవన్నీ మనం చూస్తున్నప్పుడు this is not good. But why? We have to learn about this. Just briefగా నేను దీన్ని కొంచెం మీతో చెప్పాలని ఆశపడుతున్నాను. Why this Gog and Magog? The war. Gog and Magog. See, sometimes the words are used as idioms or phrases. You need not to say both are same. Ezekiel, it is the nations. Gog of the land of Magog. Magog is a place. Meshach. There are 7 nations. But here you don't see that. Then how to reconcile this word Gog and Magog? Etlante. I have some study and I have also borrowed some of the thoughts from other God's servants. So the word Gog and Magog, like Armageddon, this word is used. This is a valley or hill, Megiddo. That is the exact place where the war is going to take place in 19th chapter of Revelation. కానీ దాన్ని ఏమన్నారో తెలుసా? దాన్ని దేనికి యూజ్ చేస్తారంటే in 1998 they released a movie called Armageddon. Why they called it? They said for the catastrophic situation they used the word Armageddon. When it is coming to the end of the world, they use the word Armageddon. World sitting on the brink of Armageddon, since weapons of mass destruction are widespread around the world. That's the reason they use the word Armageddon. Armageddon is a real word. At the same time, this is like an idiom or phrase. It can be used. And then we also use the Babylon. Babylon is a real place. We know that Babylon is a place. But at the same time, Revelation 17th chapter, mystery Babylon. The same word used for the false religion system, for the religious system. See, there it is the real place. Here it is the religious system. They are using for the religious system. And you also use the word Sodom. Sodomites means homosexuals. Sodom is a real place. At the same time, this word can be used as an idiom or phrase to express certain things. ఆ తర్వాత ఇంకా this is I borrowed from a preacher, Waterloo. Waterloo is a city in Belgium. Waterloo War. It's a real war. In this war, in one day, 72,000 French armies under the Napoleon Bonaparte was crushed, defeated instantly. So, the English people, they use the word Waterloo. Here it says, for a decisive and crushing defeat. They use this word. He hasn't met an insurmountable problem and suffered irreversible defeat. Another word is annihilation, collapse. For these, they also use Waterloo. See, why I am explaining all these things? In chapter 20 of Revelation, Gog and Magog is used. It is like a phrase. It is a satanic influence on the people, the rebellion against God, the final rebellion. And like Waterloo, it's going to be crushed immediately. But whereas in Ezekiel, Gog and Magog, it is a different story. It's a different story. So this is what we can see in this war. So both wars are not same. Both wars are not same. Both wars are not same. So here I've mentioned the similarities are Gog and Magog mentioned, and problems we have seen different wars, and Gog and Magog, two similar words need not carry the same meaning. Similar word can be used for different purpose, as I explained now. So words like Babylon, Armageddon, Sodom and Gomorrah, Sodom and Waterloo. Okay, now the Russian war and Revelation war, the difference we'll see there. Again, the main character is the Prince of Meshach. And here is the main character is Satan. Invasion against nation Israel. This is against all the saints of millennial kingdom. It is a regional war, only 9 nations. But here all the nations of the earth from the 4 corners of the world. Prior to the war, no mention of Satan here in this Ezekiel. But here, prior to war, Satan is bound for 1,000 years. War spot is mountain of Israel. Here it's a beloved city, Jerusalem. See the difference. ఇవన్నీ జాగ్రత్తగా గమనించాలి. ఏదో ఉట్టిగా ఏదో ఒక వర్స్ తీసుకొని because the both are the same, Gog and Magog, so we will put. No. You have to reconcile every issue. You cannot do that. So purpose of Israel to turn to Messiah, already they are all turned and worshipping in the millennial kingdom. So it cannot be there. Following the war 7 months, the bury of the dead, here instantly burnt because of the fire from heaven. And following the war, weapons burnt for 7 years. The great white throne judgment, there is no need of anything. And the Jews and Gentiles know the Lord. And here is the final judgment. And call for the feast, birds and beasts. But here instantly all are burnt. All are burnt. And the great earthquake and rain, hail and pestilences. This is how the war is, battle is, they defeated. And then here is fire from heaven. These are all different. No mention of Satan here. And here is Satan thrown into the hell. And house of Israel cleans the land because they buried. The 7 months they bury the dead. And here they enter into the eternity. So you cannot place both wars. So my friend, are the 6 views, we have problems. Something or the other, major or minor. So nowhere it can suit. But what is the solution? Prophet has written that this war is going to happen. So we have to now, ఇవన్నిటిని మనం సేకరిస్తూ, how can we do this? So, to be very frank, first my imagination was before the tribulation, before the rapture. Then again I thought, no, it cannot be because imminence is questionable. So I cannot do that. So the next, I thought maybe the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. ఎందుకంటే 7 years. There are a lot of things are matching. So, but there is a problem. All Israel should be saved. If you put it here, all Israel cannot be saved because this tribulation period is for their salvation, purging the Israel. So here, this is I borrowed from a great man of God. He was mentioning how can you reconcile this like a two-phase fulfillment view. అంటే ఒకటే ఈవెంట్ కానీ రెండు పర్యాయాలు అది దాని యొక్క టోటాలిటీ వీ హ్యావ్ టు సీ. హెరాల్డ్ హోనర్, professor of Dallas Theological College, he has come out with this view and it is truly acceptable, very realistic. Listen very carefully. Very quickly I want to go through that and then we are going to finish it up. Okay, so how this in two phases. Example he is using. Ezekiel 38 will be fulfilled early in the tribulation. ఎందుకంటే not everyone is going to be saved. Everyone is not going to be saved. There are some people still unbelief. దాన్ని ఎట్లా తీసుకొచ్చాడంటే దీన్ని నేను ఆలోచించి, this is also my study. See, when Jesus was on this earth, his brothers never believed him. John 7:5. They never believed Jesus. But when you see in Acts chapter 1, verse 14, 120 people gathered in the upper room. His brothers were there. So they believed at the end. And you can see James and Jude, both are the brothers of Jesus. They are writing the epistles. So one, they are not believed, now they are believed. So that's a two-phase fulfillment. And 39 chapter, that all Israel will be saved. At the end of tribulation, it's going to be fulfilled. Partly it is going to be fulfilled at the beginning, and partly it is going to be fulfilled at the end. So it is a little bit confusion, but it's not confusion. Two-stage restoration of nation Israel. That's another good example he is using. The first stage, 37వ అధ్యాయం ఆ యొక్క ఎముకల లోయలో, ఎండిపోయిన ఎముకల లోయలో అని తీసుకుని పోయినప్పుడు he was asked to prophesy against all these things. The bones scattered, everything, there is no hope. So then he said, prophesy. The prophet, when he prophesied, all the bones have come and joined together. And it became like a skeleton. There was no life in it. That's the first stage. There is no life in it. So that means there is no spiritual restoration of Israel in 37th chapter. Immediately. There's a two phase. Number one is physical, without life. Then second is spiritual, with life. The two stages in one chapter. So physical restoration started in 1948. All Israel are gathering. They're coming, but in unbelief. They're not accepted Jesus Christ. Even today, they're not accepted Jesus Christ as their Messiah. They're still in unbelief. That's the first stage of fulfillment. But when the second stage, that is life, the spiritual restoration will come at the end of tribulation during the millennial kingdom. This 7-year period, it's going to be a purging period. They all come to saving knowledge of Jesus Christ at the end of the tribulation. So this is called the టూ ఫేజ్ ఫుల్ఫిల్మెంట్. ఇంకా అలాంటి ఎన్నో బైబిల్లో ఎన్నో వర్సెస్ ఉన్నాయి. దేర్ ఆర్ సో మెనీ వర్సెస్ లైక్ ఇన్ వన్ వర్స్ బట్ టైమ్ గ్యాప్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఐజయా 9:6. ఇట్స్ అబౌట్ జీసస్ క్రైస్ట్ బర్త్. ఏలయనగా మనకు శిశువు పుట్టెను, మనకు కుమారుడు అనుగ్రహించబడెను, ఆయన భుజముల మీద రాజ్యభారం ఉండును. ఆశ్చర్యకరుడు, ఆలోచనకర్త, బలవంతుడైన దేవుడు, నిత్యుడగు తండ్రి, సమాధానాధిపతి అని పేరు పెట్టు. సో ఇట్స్ ద బర్త్ ఆఫ్ క్రైస్ట్. At the same time, his reign, he is going to be as a king. When Jesus was born, he did not establish kingdom. 2000 years gone, still it's not established. One verse, two-phase fulfillment. Even Zechariah 9:9, the Messiah, their king is going to enter. ఆ యొక్క బట్టల ఆదివారం పామ్ సండే హీ ఎంటర్డ్ ద జెరూసలేం, బట్ హీ డిడ్ నాట్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ హిస్ కింగ్డమ్. ద సేమ్ వర్స్, ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు టేక్ ప్లేస్ ఇన్ టూ డిఫరెంట్ టైమ్స్. సో దిస్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ద టూ ఫేజ్ ఫుల్ఫిల్మెంట్ వ్యూ. టూ ఫేజ్ ఫుల్ఫిల్మెంట్ వ్యూ. సో ప్రాఫెసీ ఫస్ట్, and peace first and the war next. So first seal is peace, then war is the second seal. 6th chapter. So here is clear comparison. The present first regathering, Randall Price is giving this chart. Written first part lo, part all, not all, part of the land they gathered. And here in the second, they are going to regather in all the land. Written in unbelief, the first gathering, and second written in faith. First regathering restored land only. Second regathering restored land and their Lord. First regathering set the stage for tribulation for 7 years for the discipline. Second, this stage is set for millennial kingdom for the blessings. So these two different stage of Israel nations regathering. So this is what we should see. So when this war is going to be, the best place is immediately in the beginning of the tribulation, so that all things will follow except one, that is all Israel will be saved. So part of Israel, because there's a lot of Israel will be saved during the first immediately. 144,000 are sealed. So many Gentiles are going to know that Jesus Christ is Lord. Well, if we put that in the beginning of the tribulation, all these things can be reconciled. So that is where it is rightly fitting. Now, finally, I wanted, this is the most important. I will take little time. The time is over, but be patient for little more time. Afghanistan, how the crisis has making this war more real and more closer. Afghanistan in prophecy. Is Afghanistan in the prophecy? That's a question. Israel invasion of Russia with alliance, all the nations. Our table of nations in Genesis 10, we have already seen who are the main key players or people who are going to involve in the war. So this is the complete setup. This is Israel. And Rosh is Russia. They are going to come against Israel. And Magog, these are according to uh, uh, historian, Josephus, he says the Scythians migrated from Central Asia to Russia, Ukraine, Afghanistan, and all stands. సో ఆ యొక్క టేబుల్ ఆఫ్ నేషన్స్లో మనం గమనిస్తే జెనసిస్ చాప్టర్ 10 వర్స్ 2లో you'll find Magog. There are the descendants of Noah, descendants of Japheth. So they settle here in this Magog. This is the area, Magog. Here is Afghanistan. Here is Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all stands. These are all Magog. So here is Afghanistan. And quickly, Meshach is Damascus, and Tobolsk is Siberia, and Tobolsk and Persia is Iran, today Iran. Kush is Sudan and Ethiopia. And then Put is Libya and Algeria. And then Gomer is here. This is a Gomer, Turkey. This is a Turkey, Gomer. And Bettergama, this is a Central Asia and part of the Turkey. All these people, these are the people involved. So I just wanted to tell you, Afghanistan is in the prophecy. Afghanistan is in Ezekiel 38th chapter. So this is setting a step closer to Ezekiel war. Now, quickly I wanted to tell you how it is moving towards the prophetic coalition of the nations mentioned. Okay, well, if we see this Afghanistan war, it's a strange alliance, everything strange. Russia and China, they both are communist nations. They are appreciating. They are endorsing Taliban's conquest. And, today's newspaper, I have mentioned somewhere, today's Deccan Chronicle. It said, 1 minute, where is it? Today's Deccan Chronicle, it's very clearly said, China want to make, here. China promises to develop good neighborliness, friendship, and cooperation with these ultras, with these terrorist Talibans. That's what China has said today, today's newspaper. And this is something very strange. These are the communists. Their ideologies are different. And Iran is also endorsing this conquest. Iran is a 90+% Muslims, all Shiite Muslims. And Turkey, it is allied nation with NATO. Leader is US. So this has a partnership with US. And Afghanistan, Taliban is Sunni and fundamental Islamic nation. People. Their ideologies totally different. How can all this go together? That is very strange. Russia is endorsing, China want to help, Iran want to help, and Turkey want to help. Already Turkey, Iran, and Russia, 2017, I think, 2017, they have come together with an understanding. So now they are the key players. But they're all different ideologies. ఎట్లా ఏ విధంగా పొందుపరుస్తుంది? That is strange. What is the common interest? If you really study what is the common interest, number one, to put an end to the US presence in the Middle East. Friends, that's the main purpose. And second, to see the US power diminished. Russia want to see this, China want to see this, Turkey want to see this. And geopolitical understanding of US adversaries, putting aside all ideologies, barriers. So, now the influence of US is gone. It has become weak in the Middle East. It lost its power, its hold in the Middle East. 1960, I think that time, maybe Jimmy Carter, he withdraw all this army troops from Vietnam, and it has gone to communist nation. And in 1980s, I think it was the Bush period, he withdrew all the troops from Iraq. It has gone to Islamic nation. And now Afghanistan, all troops are withdrawn. ఏ విధంగా విత్డ్రా చేశారంటే, it is, I don't know, even a simple man having a little common sense will not do what Biden has done it. He withdrew his army troops before all his citizens are taken back. ముందు ప్రజలందరినీ ఆ యొక్క సిటిజన్స్ షిఫ్ట్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఆర్మీని షిఫ్ట్ చేయాలి. నౌ ద డెడ్ లైన్ ఇస్ 31st August. If suppose if there someone remained, you can just think about it. So they have made a mess. They have made a mess. And that mess has become a catastrophic. భయంకరమైన ఒక ప్రళయంగా మారిపోయింది. And I want to tell you, my friends, all this weaken Israel. Can Israel trust America? Suppose this Ezekiel war happens? No, my friend, no. Very clearly, 2,600 years before, the prophet has written this. The merchant of Tarshish, all these Western powers, they'll be watching. They will not help Israel. Even the newspaper, China is saying it is a lesson for Taiwan. The next is Taiwan. US troops are there, protecting there. అసలు 2001లో after 9/11 incident, US entered into Afghanistan. War on terror అనే ఆ యొక్క స్లోగన్ మీద. They wanted to eliminate Al-Qaeda. They wanted to eliminate ISIS. They wanted to eliminate all the wings of these terrorist people. Did they do that? Of course, they could able to get Osama bin Laden, but Al-Qaeda is still there. Taliban, that's a terrorist organization. Now it is in the terrorist organization hands. So now they are against Israel. That is the outcome, prophetical viewpoint. So that is how it is coming more closer to Ezekiel war. More closer to Ezekiel. So my friends, let us wait and see how this is going to happen, where it is going to turn. But today, the Middle East, slowly, US presence is diminishing. except Israel. So they wanted to weaken nation Israel. And this is what is happening. So Afghanistan war, this is truly now. Iran is rising up in the Middle East. Israel is striking the Iranian base in Syria, 40 kilometers north border of Israel. Several times it smashed them. But Russia kept silent. You know why? Benjamin Netanyahu, he was having a great influence. He met Putin. He convinced their strike against Iranian base. But today, the weak prime minister has come. Naftali Bennett. He has no influence like Benjamin Netanyahu. So, Israel has become weak. America has become weak in the Middle East. Russia is becoming strong. With the help of Iran, Turkey, support of China, it's becoming strong. So, I want to say, it is a time for Ezekiel war. Closer. I don't say tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Kani. It's a very close to the Ezekiel war. But when this Ezekiel war is going to take place? After the rapture. Beginning of 7 years tribulation. So we don't know when we are going to be raptured, my friends. Let's get prepared. Anytime God is going to call. Call His church. Just like call His people before the war. యుద్ధానికంటే ముందు వారి ప్రజలందరినీ గురించి ఇండియా క్లోజ్ దేర్ ఎంబసీ, యుఎస్ క్లోజ్ దేర్ ఎంబసీ. బట్ strange, Russia and China and Turkey, Iran, all this, their embassies are open in Afghanistan. India pulled down. US pulled down. So one day, God is going to send His wrath, ఆ యొక్క మహా ఉగ్రతను He is going to send on this earth. Before that, He is going to call His people. Come up, my people. Come up, my people. This is the time you come up. I'm going to pour out my anger, my wrath on this world. So, are you prepared, my friend? సిద్ధపడున్నావా? If Christ came tonight or tomorrow, I don't know when it is. Anytime event. And then Antichrist will come. Sign the treaty. Then the peace will prevail. Then this war is going to happen. The second seal, the war. This is my understanding. This is my conviction. According to this word. So let's pray. ప్రార్థన చేసుకుందాం. కృపగల తండ్రి, పరిశుద్ధుడా, నీకు వందనాలు, నీకు స్తోత్రాలు నాయనా. మంచి దేవుడవు ప్రభా, ప్రియమైన తండ్రివి, పరిశుద్ధుడవు నాయనా, గొప్ప దేవుడవు ప్రభా, నీకు వందనాలు, నీకు స్తోత్రాలు తండ్రి. నీ రాకడ బహు సమీపంగా ఉంది ప్రభా. ఇవన్నీ మేము చూస్తున్నప్పుడు నాయనా, ఈ యొక్క రష్యా వార్, it's coming closer and closer. And even much closer and closer, the rapture timing is coming. మీ కృప మాకు దయచేయి నాయన, సిద్ధపడ్డాను. మీకే వందనాలు, స్తోత్రాలు, స్తుతులు చెల్లిస్తూ త్వరలో రానున్న యేసయ్య శ్రేష్టమైన నామమున ప్రార్థిస్తున్నాను తండ్రి. ఆమేన్.